So we've done a bit since the last vlog, which I don't know, a couple of hours ago, whatever. So pulled out the brake booster, bada bing. We're gonna make that plate to bolt it up to do the brake booster delete, because we just don't need it and it gives more room. Also, as you can see, a bit cleaner. I have removed the rear brake line and the 3 fuel lines. So the fuel line feed, return, and the breather, because we're going to be running a fuel cell, so we don't need them. So that's sweet. So I got rid of those, and as you can see over here, we ripped the fuel tank out as well. Bit of weight reduction, we don't need it because we're running a fuel cell. And what was left of the exhaust, the centerpiece, still got the muffler in the back. We'll rip him out later. So yeah, so we did a little bit. Like I said, we ripped the rear fuel tank out. I'll give you a squeeze under there tomorrow because it's just too dark and I don't want to. So yeah, so it's a bit cleaner. And we'll proceed tomorrow. Tomorrow, like I said, hopefully we'll go see a mate, see if we can get a bit of alley block and a hole drilled in it for the master cylinder, and we'll bolt him back up. Probably swap the pedal box over, because the pedal box we've got is already modified. Down here you can see, very modified for the SR20 gearbox, so it's got a modified clutch lever, clutch pedal. So we'll probably just swap all that out, I think. We'll do that when we get rid of some of that dash. So yeah, so we got a little bit happening this weekend, which is sweet. We might even put the AE86 coilovers in, which are underneath all that stuff, all the goodness. Show you that later. Once we get to it, catch cans and the fuel system and computer system and stuff. So yeah, we might get into that tomorrow. See how we go, but want to get this engine bay cleaned up and repainted, and the brakes sorted, and the new brake line to the rear, because we're running a different diff, which is this one here. This whole lot of goodness. R31 Skyline 3.9 mini spool diff, running twin calipers. So it's got the brake line there. I've got all the brake lines and the new or the replacement fuel lines, the return and the feed that came out of the drift car, so they'll be going in. So we yeah, probably have a whole lot done, but I want to get this engine bay cleaned up. There's a whole lot of irrelevant wiring for what we're going to use in the engine bay, and I want to convert the front lights from the square rectangular looking ones you can see here to the twin headlight. I think there's still the KE70s, but they're a bit earlier, so they're a bit harder to get hold of. So we're going to have a look, see if we can find it, because I would like to convert it to the twin headlights, because those headlights just look way too much like a 80s Gemini. Yeah, good times. So, like I said, we've done the cross member, as you can see, we did on the last vlog. We're going to tidy everything up tomorrow. Might even patch up that rust hole that I found behind the square bottle. And I wouldn't mind taking off the brake regulator or splitter or something like that. Can't remember. Cleaning that up so it's a bit cleaner. Because at the moment, it's a bit rusted looking, bro. And I've got another brake cylinder that I might use because it just looks a bit nicer, or we might upgrade it, seeing that we're running 4-wheel disc brake instead of the old conventional drums like this came out with on the rear. Because at the moment it's got a Hilux diff in it, which is alright. It's a Hilux LSD diff, so we're probably going to keep that diff as a spare, and just in case. But that one's actually narrower and it's got wheel spaces to bring the tyres out, where this bad girl here is actually a wider diff, but it still bolts up to the KE70 frame, so we're going to have to flare the guards. So that'll be later once we get to the body. Once I get the engine bay sorted out, the dash and interior sorted out, then we'll probably start on the body, flares, paint job, headlight conversion, stuff like that, all the goodness. We did a bit of what we said we were doing last night. Basically, we cleaned up the engine bay of some of the wiring. Still got a bit more to do. Relocated a fuse box out of the engine bay, which we just got to make an aluminium plate to shield that. But I'll show you what that is in a sec. And we cleaned up the driver's side as well of wiring. Basically disconnected a harness that wasn't used, and I just got to tuck the existing wiring. And we did the brake booster delete. So I'll show you that first, and we'll go from there. Flip the camera around. So this is the brake booster delete. Basically, we've got an aluminium plate that I had made up with some holes drilled in it to basically bolt the brake cylinder straight to the firewall, straight onto the pedal, which, as you can see, frees up a heap of room in this area here for where the manifold's going. So we'll replumb these. Basically, we're just going to move them, tuck them around so they're a bit neater. And basically, we're going to smooth off the aluminium block, just round the corners off, just make it look a bit more prettier. So that worked out really well. That bolts up to the existing brake booster bolt holes, and the actual cylinder goes through the aluminium plate and sleeves on. I'll probably show you where it went through, but I'll show you on the old one. So look. So you can see there where the end of the brake booster is, or the start of the brake booster, off where it mounts on. That bit is going through the aluminium plate that's down on the firewall. So that inserts through it. I've got some Allen key bolts that come through from the back, which bolt the cylinder onto that plate. Now, I was going to insert them with like a recessed bolt, but I decided to drill through the firewall into the engine, into the compartment. So if we have to, we can just, if we need to replace that cylinder or disconnect or whatever, we can just put an Allen key bit through the inside of the cab into the bolt, undo those nuts, and take the cylinder off. So that's basically sitting where it's going to be sitting. I'll take it all off for when we clean the engine base, because we still got to basically clean it and paint it. I didn't get to doing the rust repair, but you can see from the existing video how much cleaner that side looks with the wiring not there. And this side, this harness is basically the spotlight harness and the thermofan harness. So I'm going to disconnect that and run through my own harness and have it basically have that wiring have a plug in the firewall. So if I want to run spotlight, for some reason the video or the feed stopped, so we're back again. I'll put a light on where we've done the fuse box, but if you could see in there, you can see where the fuse box is, where it used to be. Basically, we hooked it up through that top harness hole. I've got to put the bung back in there and just cable tie up some of those unused plugs there. I don't want to cut anything out, just in case we want to use the stock harness again. So basically that's where the box is now going to fit, and I'll put a aluminium plate shield just over the front of it, just to stop any shit from the tyre flicking up, which would be a pretty easy thing. I'll be able to mount it on the body there and across to the fender, be all good. So that's where that's sitting. I'm pretty happy where that sits. It's nice and tidy. That's tidied the engine bay up. So as you can see, the engine bay's getting there. So hopefully we'll do a bit more during the week. Won't be doing much tomorrow because my little girl's birthday. But the mount there, the delete plate, that was a good mate of mine at TWB Engineering. He helped me make that. We made it actually. I just finished it off. And that is a nice little aluminium delete plate. So big shout out to me mate at the TWB Engineering, and you'll see a bit more of his work coming up. He helped out with a couple of things. He helped out with that rocker cover that I had done. I showed you that earlier. We're relocating those vents, and he'll be also giving us a hand with welding up the flanges for the 3-inch stainless exhaust.